The Garnet and Hold Show. No inside info, no contacts, no problem. Uh, Vince, I'm back.
You are back. I was getting a little concerned about you, my friend. Um, but you are back. So how's it going?
It is going well. Moved in. Everything's settled and in place. The holidays are nearing. The December holidays are coming up, but Thanksgiving was good. After I got to see my family this past show, which was nice. We went down to downtown Mount Dora. They were doing their holiday event down there, and it was
A lot of
beautiful. So,
crafts.
what's that?
A lot of crafts.
There's a lot going on down there. It was a whole Christmas event, but it's been good. And the good news is I didn't miss a whole lot in FSU news. It's just been slow, right? I mean, that there's nothing going on.
Yeah, really not much going on. So I don't know. We may only have 2 or 3 minutes of content this evening. So
Man.
while we're letting everybody jump in here, just remind everybody that we are live from the Captain Black Fishing Studios. I am at the Captain Black Fishing Studios North, and Ryan is at the Captain Black Fishing Studios Central.
Hmm.
If you're looking for charter fishing memories to make with your family, your coworkers, your teammates, your whoever it is, and you live in the Panama City Beach area, check them out. Captain Black Fishing Studios. The link is in the show notes, and tell them Garnet and Old sent you because that would be nice. That would be nice if you did that. Also, wherever you're watching from, Ryan and I appreciate it. Whether you're watching from YouTube, X, Facebook, where else are we going now? Blue Sky,
Are we on
Instagram.
Blue Sky? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I'm just making all this up. But wherever you are watching from, we appreciate it. And we would invite you to go hop over to YouTube real quick, regardless of where you're watching from, and hit the like button and subscribe. That really helps the show out a lot for
Yeah.
fellow nobles to find, and maybe some rivals and haters as well.
And this show, unofficially, but not really at all, brought to you by this Thursday, Crown Royal. Crown Royal, it's in the game.
Not officially, unofficially, officially in the
Unofficially, but not really at all.
in the portal.
Yeah. So Vince, I the only thing I really missed that happened before last week's show, because a lot happened after.
Right.
But I believe that as of last week's show, Gus was in. Gus Malzahn was the offensive coordinator, and then had Terrence Knighton been hired yet? Was that still speculated at that point?
I think the speculation was there, but I don't know that the official stuff had come
Yeah,
out. It's kind of tough to remember it all because we knew about the Gus Malzahn thing like
yeah.
before the Florida game, right?
And boy, has a whole lot happened since then.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, a ton has happened since then, and mostly positive stuff.
I would say mostly positive. I understand where people's concerns are, but I also feel like the reasons for the concern are misplaced and misguided. And we'll get into that as we go through. Vince, what do we want to start off with? There's so much to cover tonight.
I'm going to start off with moving my camera around first, but I think we'll just start with the coaching stuff. I mean, the coaching stuff we can probably get through really quickly,
Hmm.
and then we can jump to the portal stuff. And I really would like to touch on a few topics du jour before we call tonight.
Absolutely. So let's start with the coaching update. We already knew as of last week's show, Gus Malzahn, offensive coordinator. We did get our first interview with Gus. My initial takes on his interview are exact like we've seen him for so many years now. So there's nothing that he could have said that would have upped the ante for me or decreased my anticipation. We know at this point in his career exactly who Gus Malzahn is. Now, a couple things that he did bring up I want to touch on. He mentioned, funny enough, that no, Auburn did not steal any of Florida State's signs in the national championship game, but they were trying
But they were trying to.
very
They
hard, he said.
were.
But I also want to
I,
mention,
I will allow that as an answer
mhm,
because I would not expect him to say yes.
yeah,
I would not expect that to happen.
it would have
So,
been funny if he had, though.
oh, absolutely. It would have been funny if he
Yeah,
would have said absolutely, and then we didn't. And that would have been a very funny way to end that. But I forget who asked the question. Um, was it Brendan Sonnone maybe that asked the
yeah, I
question?
think it was Sonnone, and I
Yeah.
buy that answer from Brendan Sonnone, that question from Sonnone, because not only was it funny, um, but it was well placed, and I thought it added some good levity to the scenario. And I actually thought overall, and I'll get your take here in a second, Vince, on the Gus experience interview. He came off exactly what I would expect. I do appreciate that he was honest in the question. I don't know if it was Aslan Hutchavandi that asked about, is it because of his relationship with Mike that he came here, or because of all that the head coaching position requires now, and maybe he wanted to, just coach. And I appreciate he didn't go one way or the other. He said, yeah, both are a factor. I want to just coach football, and B, if I'm gonna just coach football, I get along very well with Mike, and we're basically speaking the same language. What, Vince, did it ring to you what we heard early on in the early interviews with Kenny Dillingham, where remember Kenny was very much like, hey, whatever Mike's thinking, I'm thinking it too. So he doesn't have to worry with what I'm doing. He trusts me to do it because we know we're on the same page. That's exact feeling I got here, is that Mike brought in Gus because they know exactly the same lingo, what they expect, and he can just let Gus do his thing without having to worry. Is that what you got?
Well, there's definitely a comfort level there, and you can
Yeah.
tell immediately. And I agree. I also appreciated Gus indicating that one of the reasons why he would consider taking this job, and you could, is the head coach at UCF moving to the offensive coordinator at FSU. Is that a lateral move? Maybe it's a lateral move. But why would he consider that? And I really appreciated his like honesty in that. It is a different deal being a head coach now. There's a
Yeah.
lot more to deal with, and just like sometimes you leave a job and you long for the old job. It's like, man, I didn't know how good I had it, or I took on all these extra nightmares when I didn't need to do that, when I was kind of good where I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think there's a comfort there, and as he indicated, the ramp up with a new staff isn't and a new roster isn't necessarily going to be as difficult because the terminology is the same, or at least very much the same. I had a back and forth with someone on Twitter this week because I had, when Luke announced that he was going in the portal,
Hmm.
of course, the crazies come out and they are, bashing him for no reason. I mean, and people make up their own reasons, right? They make up the reasons why people are going to leave. They're not competitive enough. They're just looking for money. I mean, whatever the reason is, and I posited that maybe it just he didn't sign up for what was about to happen.
Yeah.
He
Yeah. The
committed.
system.
He could he committed to a system that was about to not be the system.
Hmm.
And then someone responded to me and said, they run the same system. Well, and I try not to get too involved. And so I simply asked, um, can I'm not much of an X's and O's guy. I'm not like deep like that. Can you explain to me what the differences are? And of course, I got crickets on that
Yeah.
because most people are just regurgitating things that they've seen or heard,
Yeah.
but don't necessarily have all the detail. There are people that do. Don't get me wrong, but I to say that Mike's system is exactly like Gus's, that's
Yeah.
just not the case.
Yeah, you
It's
can
just
watch 2 seconds of there's a lot of footage at this point of Gus Malzahn tape. There's a lot of it, guys.
yes, yeah, yeah.
You could watch 2 seconds of Mike Norvell here at Florida State um, versus what Malzahn does, and it's similar formationally, and similar in how they line up. However, it's I would say a 40 to 50% increase on QB runs and reads in the Malzahn offense. I mean, he runs the you know what out of his quarterbacks,
Sure.
which maybe that's not what I believe. And again, this is a positive reason for me. If I'm Luke Kermahawk, maybe he doesn't want to just be the running quarterback. He wants to go to a system where it's maybe more pro, and that's fine. That's what Mike did. It was much more pro system, pro sets. But listen, I have to imagine before Luke put his name in the portal, I'm sure he had a conversation with Gus, and Gus laid out, "Hey, here's what we're going to be doing. I just want to be upfront with you." And in the day and age where there's thousands this year of people in the portal, you cannot fault Luke from
No.
saying, "Yeah, it's just not for me." I'm not. I think he's a no different than all the other quarterbacks that listen. When here's what drives me crazy, Vince. When people enter the portal and we get them, people are like, "Man, he's coming here. He wants to be a Knoll." When
Right.
people leave, they're like, "Nah, he sucks." It's
It,
the same message over and over.
it's craziness. It's
Yeah,
craziness. And I know people get attached, and because college football is what it is, and people have the passion that they do, and it's so deep, and they take it like at a personal level. When someone leaves the school, it's like, how dare you? And it can't be anything good, right? It's always got to be a negative about the person. I spent about 10 to 15 minutes with Luke's dad in Dublin, and got to meet him like a real. And I'm not saying I'm a great judge of character. I'm saying I don't know him from a personal level, but I get the vibe. And what I've heard from other people that know them really well is that that family is not kind of what's been portrayed in social media, with people getting their feelings hurt and deciding to bash people, right?
yeah,
So I would say, if you got your feelings hurt about that, take a few seconds before you start to tweet stuff out, or whatever, because you never know.
yeah.
Someone could go in the portal
Yep.
and come back, which we can talk about a little later.
And we do have a lot to cover, so we're gonna kind of move on to the next topic. But
Move on.
first, I want to shout out some people that are in the chat. Brett Taylor, friend of the show. Not much to talk about, huh? Always watch on YouTube. Like button smash, my man. That's what I like. Rock and Noel,
What you do.
longtime listener. What's up, fellas? It's good to see you, Rock and Noel. Good to see you in the chat. I also want to shout out Elijah Barrera. Thomas Castellanos is a very mobile quarterback, and we're going to get to this. Something that was missing this past season. And then I'm going to, real quick, without bringing them up on the screen, Peter Shields, R. Wilmer, both in the chat, Fatal Jedi in the chat. Guys, we love you guys. Thanks for being part of the show. All right, let's stick with the UCF hires because essentially that's what we've got. We've got Gus OC, and then we go right into Herb Hand as offensive line coach, and Tim Harris Jr. hired as passing game coordinator, wide receiver coordinator. So here's the thing, Vince. If you take Mike Norvell at his word, and he said this is not going to be some long, protracted turnaround, it has to happen immediately. In my opinion, the only way that can happen, whether or not you agree with these hires or not, that's not what this is about. If you are Mike Norvell, because obviously you wouldn't have hired these people unless you thought they were a good answer, right? You have to have, for a quick turnaround, continuity on a staff, and you can't have continuity on a new staff unless they have all come together from one place, or from at least recent coaching locations. So everyone's like, what are we doing? just getting the UCF coaching staff? Yes, because Mike hired Gus. Gus vouches, for Tony White. I'm sure. I mean, not Tony White. Sorry, Herb Hand and Tim Harris Jr. And for the most continuity with the offense that Gus wants to run, you probably want his offensive line coach, and you probably want his OC from UCF. And you can agree or disagree with how they're going to end up doing in your predictions, everyone, but you cannot disagree that as far as install goes, this is the quickest way to get it done. What's your take, Vince?
Yeah, it's the most efficient way to graft what needs to happen onto the program in the shortest amount of time. Gus Malzahn, so the thing that we're hearing is that, okay, UCF was not great, so why would you go grab, their staff? Well, consider though that Gus isn't the head coach here. He's the offensive coordinator. He's only going to be worried about offense.
And their offense was great.
Right. And Herb Hand is a well-known, highly respected offensive line coach. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's the right thing to do. And then, Tim Harris Jr. Isn't he like, I think I read he's like he's a Miami Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's got recruiting.
Right? And he's a recruiting guy, big time, right? And so that's, like you said, we can look back on this a year from now, 2 years from now, and go, man, those hires were terrible, and then everybody will say, hey, we told you so. But no one knows. Mm-hmm. No one knows, and so the most logical thing to do, is when you are in the predicament that Mike is in, is bring in people that can be successful, and they have been successful, and you are comfortable with them, and it's, I don't want to call it plug and play, but it's as much plug and play as you can get.
All right, Vince, in this topic, I want to bring up one thing, and Knowles99 writes, does Tony, I think he's talking about basically the offensive staff scare away. I'm just going to cover this as offensive staff scare away good wide receivers. So here's the thing. I would venture to say that the days of, in a Gus Malzahn offense, of you getting a elite wide receiver are likely over. I'm being honest with you guys. If I'm a wide receiver, that's the guy that wants a ton of catches a year and massive touchdown all the time. I want to be the primary focus of an offense. You're not going to go to a Gus Malzahn team, because the Gus Malzahn team is going to be focusing on running. So with pros of Gus's offense, where you're going to have offensive linemen, tight ends, and running backs love to come play for Gus and his offensive staff, you are going to have negatives like you would in any offensive system. So what you're going to get, I promise you guys, is hopefully some good 3 to 4 star wide receivers that have been well scouted and can be developed in Malzahn's system. If you look at his time and all his stops, usually there's not like some nationally prolific wide receiver that's just killing it. That's the running backs. That's the quarterbacks in Malzahn's offense. All right. Not to say we can't have good wide receivers, but I don't think you're going to get elite wide receivers. So keep that in mind when you're talking about Gus's offense, is that focus on offensive line and blocking tight ends and really, really good running backs and a running quarterback, and that's what Gus wants. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that, and I will also add to that. We weren't getting elite wide receivers anyway, so how is that any different? It's no different. And I also believe that next year will be a significant turnaround in the run game. It will be. It's hard for it not to be. But then once that gets established, there's nothing saying that you cannot then start, kind of moving the focus into more of a thrower as well, right? But this next year has to be about production and winning games, whatever that takes. That's what it has to be. By the way, folks, if you're looking to get your comment read, and we read a lot of them, but if you want to make sure the comment is read, you can super chat us, and that's available in YouTube. There's a couple people in here have some good comments, and a couple of these comments in here are seem very angry. I don't
They're
know where
flying
that's
fast, but Vince, wouldn't you agree? The offense is definitely a bigger, I guess, concern for people just because their personal opinions on Gus and Castellanos. But real quick, if we're flipping over to the defensive hires of Knighton and Tony White and those kind of things, I think a lot of people are pretty happy. They had no less about them, but they saw what Nebraska did, and they already believe that we're good to go there. It's interesting to me. I'm excited also about that. I'm really happy that we got Terrence Knighton because I think that's a key recruiting position that's really going to pay dividends. But Vince, do you have a drink on hand anywhere? Do you have something?
nothing of the alcohol variety, but I do have a
Raise your
drink.
hand like this. Can I raise a toast? Randy Shannon is no longer part of the FSU program. Okay. That's all I needed to hear when the news came down and that
Yeah.
Odell had a special position in the program. That made my heart warm. But now we got Pot Roast doing his thing. And by the way, if Tony White didn't impress you in that initial press conference, what I like about him, let me talk about what I like about Tony White in that initial press conference, Vince. Some coaches do the canned speech thing where they talk to you like these are, and Mike Norvell is guilty of this. Mike Norvell is a machine when it comes to like coach speak and how they approach the interview and answer the questions. Very, we just have to really, really focus on getting 1% better, like those kind of things, right? What I liked about Tony is he seemed just like a normal dude that answered the questions from like what he was actually thinking in his head and what he felt, and he added some personality to it. And he talked about being more physical in practice. Yes, um, this is going to be a physical defense. We know that because they're going to demand it, and if you aren't doing it on the practice fields, you're not playing for these guys. So I think that's why the buy-in is so strong, is because you would be insane to think that we don't have talent on this defensive roster because we saw some of it this year. It just there was too many times of lack of effort or physicality, and so I think if you let some of the guys that didn't give a ton of effort, you increase the physicality in practice. I think we're going to be fine on defense. I'm excited about these hires because I think it means offensively and defensively we are taking recruiting seriously, and continuity was huge. So we have Nebraska continuity, we have UCF continuity. People can say this team was bad and this team was bad. Okay, guys, Nebraska's defense was great and UCF's offense was always great. Okay, you can't punish UCF's offense for how bad their defense was, and you can't punish Nebraska's defense for how bad their offense was. I mean, Nebraska was out there losing games 13-10. Okay. Like we were. I mean, it sounds a lot like what we were. So I think the defense
Everybody,
hires are
yeah.
excellent, top tier.
Yeah, agreed on that. And again, everything remains to be seen. But you cannot argue with the choices and the turnaround, right? How quickly it happened, and the fact that you got well thought of, highly respected coaches that produce and recently produced at the Division I level to leave a Power Two school to come to Florida State.
It hurts me
You
every time
cannot
you say
argue
that.
with that.
Power two. It hurts
You
me.
you can you cannot argue with that.
Yeah.
Now, a year from now, 2 years from now, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and everybody that thinks they know everything is going to come back and say, "Hey, we told you that wouldn't work out," but nobody knows. as far as the interviews are concerned, I thought both the interviews were great. But I'll also say that usually in the introductory interviews, these people are a lot more open because they haven't angered the fan base yet, right? It's all
Yeah.
positivity and it's all hope, and so I hope that continues. I hope that it continues, with the openness and the personality part of it, because you're right. There are too many coaches out there that literally probably because they've been burned,
Mhm.
that just really just regurgitate platitudes and very superficial type things. But yeah, very impressed with uh, Tony White, Terrence Knighton, and didn't they hire a safeties coach as well? Cooper, I think is the last name.
I think it all comes back to what Brett Taylor said: tough practices. They don't put championship rings on smooth hands. I thought
Pretty good.
universally, Vince, media of all kinds that was reporting on Florida State, even when we were doing good in the last couple of years, said practices were a little easy. There was a lot of cardio. There was a lot of special teams practice. Wasn't a whole lot of hitting. And so when you see, I don't know if go back and watch if it's I know it's too painful for some. Go back and watch the game in Dublin. The physicality was embarrassing. We couldn't tackle. And in this day and age, you have to, guys, you got to get people on the ground. You got to wrap up. You got to have proper technique. And the only way you do that is uh, physical practices. Now, you guys all should be prepared. You're going to see an increase in off-season injuries. You're going to see it in camp. But I would rather have an occasional injury or two in the offseason that sucks, but it is what it is, and have guys ready to play than a half stepping around there in practice and just running around in shells all the time. Like I want to see some hitting, and I think it's time for that.
I'm not at the practice, so I don't know how physical it was or it was not. But I do know that whatever the old staff was doing wasn't translating to the players and then from the players onto the field.
Yeah,
So even if they were hitting a ton during practice,
yeah,
that wasn't happening in a game, right? So it was the right move to kind of cut bait and move on from that, from those staff members. And then we'll see what kind of spark, what kind of life is injected
yeah,
into the program. I will say that um, a number of these coaches are above average to really, really good recruiters.
yeah. I agree. Now, Vince, I know you have a very, very beautiful portal graphic, but before you get that ready, let's focus just on one portal guy, Castellanos. Castellanos. Now, Vince, when did I text you? Last Tuesday?
Yeah.
I texted Vince last Tuesday before any official reports or any like visits were scheduled. I said, "You do realize now that Gus is on board that Castellanos is going to be your quarterback?" And Vince was like, I don't know about that. We'll see." And I'm like, "No." I said, I think I replied Occam's razor, right? I said, or something to that effect, like Gus and what he runs for that specifically. Castellanos in the portal makes most sense, and he's recruited him before. Now, you did have your hesitations on the player, but I knew the
Yeah,
second Gus got
I'm
hired.
looking up. I'm looking up to see exactly what I said because I think you're painting me in a light that's not accurate.
What?
Keep going.
No.
Oh, I said I'll pass is what I said.
What was my
You
actual
said
text to you though to begin with?
um you said let's get Castellanos and run the hell out of him. And I said I'll pass. And I said I'll pass. And you said he has history with Gus. It's the most likely scenario. And I said the kid quit on his team.
Hmm. And then I replied. The final message was, I just see the most obvious, based on his past recruitment with Malzahn and the offensive fit. Would you agree that that last statement, the most obvious transfer based on fit and recruitment, that's what happened? I mean, that is what happened.
That is what happened, and I will call myself on this part. I said that the kid quit on his team. I don't know that. I'm only saying what I read and what I heard.
Breeze
So
Frey,
I
I'm
have
going to
it
keep saying Frey. If Breeze Frey was here, I want to
right.
know Ryan was right.
Breeze Fry.
No, but
Um,
I will always call him Frey. We have an inside thing now. He even
uh,
tags me on Twitter as Breeze Frey now.
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm of the opinion now that I am not going to um, make any kind of definitive I love it or I hate it for anybody
Mm.
that comes, because I just don't know. I don't know, and I don't know enough about the background stories. None of us do. And for all the sites we all subscribe to,
Hmm.
they're supposedly giving us all this background information, and who knows whether it's right or wrong, but a lot of it is intended to get you to click on things. We all know that. None of us have all the detail. So if Mike Norvell, along with Gus Malzahn, thought Castellanos is the right move for this next year, first of all, I can't do anything about it. We all have to deal with it. But they also have all the information, which we do not have.
Yeah.
What else can you do? You just got to go with it. There's another thing I wanted to bring up, Ryan, before we get to the full list of people. And that is, this is the old man in me now. What would you think about just, I want to rip the names off the back of the jerseys,
Hmm.
because it's too much revolving door.
NIL would probably never allow that, but
Well, no, it wouldn't, and that's the reason, because they want to have their names on the jerseys. But my wife Shannon and I were talking the other day about how the days of a recruit coming in and you getting to know their name and you watching them over the years, and then you get to know them, and then they're all in, and they're garnet and gold for life, and all that stuff is just not it's just not the same.
it's
It's
rare now.
not.
It's
They're,
not gone.
it's very rare. It's very rare. So that being the case, I'm of the opinion, like, I'm just going to worry about numbers from now on. Who's QB1? What's his number? Don't get me involved emotionally with a player, because who knows what's going to happen, and the next year they'll be playing for a rival or playing halfway across the country. I mean, good for them that they're able to do that, although they have way too much power right now.
Yeah. Two things about Castellanos that immediately, right when I heard the news, hit my head. First of all, I see a lot of comments about wasn't he benched. There's a little bit more to it than that. There are some injuries at hand. We don't know the complete story from top to bottom, but we know struggling with injury, you know, he didn't probably appreciate getting passed over despite being maybe healthy again back from injury. It happens a lot of schools. Do I love it? No. Is it very reflective of the modern athlete in the NIL era? Yes. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. We saw players declare for the portal in the middle of the season this year in college football. So there's no getting away from that. But the first thing that hit my brain, why I sent those texts to you, Vince, is because if you are looking for a quarterback that will, to use my phrasing, run the hell out of the ball, it's Castellanos. And if you guys go back and watch any of his game tape, but watch him against us, my man can make you miss in a phone booth. He will get you, and he always moves forward when he's running. He's not the largest human being necessarily, but he always gets a few yards. He somehow gets out of the pocket. He somehow steps up and gets you a few yards. But a lot of times he gets you a lot of yards. He's had 1,000-yard rushing season in college football as a quarterback, which is nuts. So Nick Marshall is the clearest comparison, I think, to this quarterback move. I think Castellanos probably has a better arm and better accuracy than Nick Marshall did at the beginning when he became the quarterback at Auburn in 2013. But if you want a guy that's going to run the ball like Gus wants it to, you can't ask for a better fit in the portal than Castellanos. So what I saw someone, I forget who it was in our chat, ask earlier, who would you rather have against Alabama first game of the season, Kromahawk or Castellanos? In Malzahn's system, give me Castellanos every day of the week. You cannot say who would you rather have, and they throw out all these comparisons without saying in Malzahn's system, because whether you like it or not, we're in Malzahn's system now. So get ready to see a whole lot of I'm keeping on the read option, which I like those kind of offenses. We've really never we've had Jordan Travis, who is an escape artist. We've had Jameis Winston, who is an escape artist, but we've really never run a run first quarterback like read option offense. However, when I've seen the other teams do it, I have fun watching those games.
I have fun watching those games. Florida State's never been that, at least in the modern times. It just never have been that. So it's going to be a different thing that we're all going to have to get used to. What I was saying a little earlier in the show is next year has to be significant. It has to be a significant turnaround that has to happen. Once that is in play, and the running game is solidified, then I would not be surprised if you get a more balanced throwing and passing after that. The reason why possibly that Gus wasn't able to, have, a great passing attack was because he could never get the players to be able to do it where he was. Even at Auburn. Even at all,
Bo Nix had some seasons.
Auburn, when he was the head coach at Auburn, they did not. But when he was the OC at Auburn, who did they have? Cam Newton.
Nick Marshall, though, got him to the national championship.
No, I get it. And it's something that can work. I get it. All I'm saying is,
what about Bo Nix?
If there's not, I just don't, I'm not of the opinion that we're going to see a train wreck of a passing attack.
No,
I don't believe that to be the case.
Yeah. You'll have better athletes on the field at Florida State than you would at UCF. And by the way, I think it helps that he's not the coordinator. I think Mike Norvell is a much better head coach than Gus Malzahn. So you put those two together, let Mike Norvell now focus on a few things, recruiting and culture. Let Gus worry about the offense. Gus knows offense. I do trust you. Look at every year of whatever team, OC or head coach he's been at. Look at the total offense ranking. It's always top 25. Always. Like, he doesn't roll out sorry offenses. It's not in the DNA of his offense. So no, you have to like that.
Yeah. They're going to be able to run the ball, and because that's what they do, and they're going to teach it the way they need to, and they're going to have the players to be able to do it. And so the running attack is going to be significantly better next year. So all this remains to be seen.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here telling you that, they're going to the playoff next year.
No,
that's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm telling you
that to get 8-9 wins.
We're trying to get to 8 wins. 9 would be an amazing season for next year. And don't come at me with Florida State's standard is, whatever. We should never be happy with 9 wins. I get it. But there's a significant change going on right now. And these things don't just turn on a dime most of the time. So, and I see some comments in here about Caden Salters.
Who knows if he wanted to come here, guys?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, and maybe he's better. I mean, I haven't watched enough of him to know. Those of you that are much more into that can comment. But to think that Castellanos is not going to be productive, highly productive, short of injury, is just not. You're just not. You just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
You just don't want to see it.
All right, Vince, I think it's graphic time. Let's get to the portal as a whole. It's been busy, to say the least. I'm going to start off with good news tonight. Omar Graham Jr. is coming back to Florida State, takes his name out of the portal. And listen, say what you want about guys that enter the portal. It's nice when they take it out. So I was happy to see that. I wanted to start with the good news, Vince.
Yeah, that's fine. Make sure everybody can see that. Are we?
Yeah, it's good.
Sure, the studio mode. We're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Good. Yeah, and that happened after I made the graphic. So, and that's the risk you run in the portal season, is that at any given moment somebody could not get the money that they want, and then or they are looking for, and then they're in the portal. So there you go.
Vince, how happy were you that Biscuit came back?
Well, what's interesting about it, I didn't want Biscuit to leave to begin with.
Mm-hmm. You were a huge Biscuit guy.
Yes, and because he fit the mantra. Like he was working hard as an effort. He was a team guy, and he made plays. And then he left, so broke my heart a little bit. But now he's back. So Biscuit is back. Very happy about that. And then, of course, we've already talked about the QB. So is there anybody in the departing line, Ryan, that you kind of looked at and said, yeah, that's surprising to me? Because there is not a single person, maybe Destin Hill, maybe.
Yeah, Destin Hill was huge for me.
Would be the one for me that I would say, I wonder why.
The reason why I was so shocked, about Destin, is because of how long Mike Norvell waited and kept that offer out there. And it's not like Mike Norvell benched him or anything. He got injured. And it just felt like we invested so many years in just waiting and just being honest and honoring that scholarship offer, when I feel like a lot of other teams would have been like, problems we're seeing in the getting this done. No, thanks, but no thanks. We stuck with it, and I was hoping that would mean, hey, he's in it. A couple I'm happy about. Julian Armella can get the hell out of here. I'm just being. This is real Ryan time, okay?
How dare you, Ryan? He was the only one that defended the logo.
I don't care. There's a couple of here that I think, in my opinion, I'm like, yes, get out. So Julian Armella, I never thought Grady Kelly was okay. You guys can hate on me if you want. And then this is going to be the hardest one for me to say. Get out of here, Marvin Jones Jr. with your lollygagging on the field and half stepping. I wanted him so bad. He's a legacy. We wanted him the first time, and now he's bouncing again. He didn't work at Georgia. He didn't work here. So those are the players that I kind of was like, see you later. Now, of the
Brian,
ones that are,
hold on. Don't move on from that yet. Are you following Shade Tree on X?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So he tweeted something earlier today, or yesterday. And it was something about accountability, and I can't remember what it was, but I'm wondering if that was related to his son. I don't know that to be the case or not, but if you just go find his feed and read that, because it came out shortly after, I think, shortly after his son went into the portal. This is the thing about legacy that I think, as Nole fans, and not just Nole fans, college football fans in general, everybody thinks the answer to all the problems is to bring back old players or someone's son. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the way we're going to recapture the magic.
Yeah.
And there's too much sensitivity and emotion in that. I
Vince.
wanted Marvin Jones Jr. to be a great Knoll.
Yeah.
There was no way he was going to be what his dad was. His dad is literally like one of the greatest linebackers that have ever played the game of college football. It would
Yeah.
be very hard to come close to that. But I wanted him to be able to wear the garnet and gold and make a name for himself as a
Sure.
dominant player at his position.
Yep.
It just didn't work out for whatever reason. So that bums me out a little bit just because of the name.
Yeah.
But the other ones,
Hold on,
I
real quick
mean,
on Marvin Jones.
yeah,
My best guess, and this is pure speculation, is uh, my man met with the new coaches and maybe was fed some honesty about what they saw in evaluation, and perhaps he didn't appreciate such
honesty.
observations and said, "Whatever, I'm out of here." And his dad, we know Shade Tree is about honesty and evaluate. I mean, he is from the moment his son came here. He said, like, I'm not like you need to do the right. Like he's always put out stuff like that. Do the right thing. Put in the effort. Stop complaining. Like that kind of stuff is Marvin Jones Shade Tree.
It's all on you. Yeah, yeah.
And I just get the feeling that it was something like that where it was like, "Hey, man, tape says," and he didn't appreciate it.
That's fine. I mean,
Pure speculation.
pure speculation. And I'm notorious for reading into tweets. So it could be that whatever Shade Tree posted had nothing to do with Junior at all. But that's just kind of the way I took it.
And KH,
So
FYI, at the beginning of the show, we talked about Omar Graham is back at the Florida State. We covered it at the beginning. The graphic was made before that.
yeah. So sorry about that. I need to do this stuff like really last minute, but then it would happen during the show. So
Yeah.
so whatever on that. But we got rid of a bunch of juniors here. We got rid of Lamont Green Jr.
Hmm.
I would say get rid of is the wrong term. The following people have left: Lamont Green Jr., Marvin Jones Jr., Byron Turner Jr., Omar Graham Jr. But Omar Graham, like we said, is actually back now. So
A lot
what
of
about
interesting
Spawn?
players.
You were angry about Deuce Spawn.
Well, so here's the thing. I never thought they used him in the way that I would like to have seen him used. Um, there was moments that I saw flashes of elusiveness and size and speed combination, and I just felt like they never really targeted getting him the ball. Um, and it goes back, we beat this horse to death, but the offense built for playmakers. I felt like this a lot of times with some of our players that we didn't really put guys in the best position this year to succeed.
They didn't have time to get in the position. Well, I'll
Yeah,
just say that.
yeah,
I'll just say that. And so we moved on from that. So as far as the people that are interested, this is not the full list. This is not the full list of people because there are several more. Because I know Casey Concepcion is not on here,
mhm,
who's a wide receiver. And by the way, Deuce Robinson is Dominic Robinson's son. So there's another legacy possibility there as well. So who knows what that is? There anybody? I mean, I'm kind of interested in the Nebraska guys
of
that are
course.
coming
Yeah, those are
over
the most likely to.
next week. Those are the defensive line guys, and so I'm really interested in that. And there's a better than good chance that they will become Knowles. Better than good. They love that coaching staff. So that is a big deal. And then CJ Campbell. I was upset when CJ Campbell left because I thought he had some stuff to him that I thought eventually would come to the fore. So who knows what's going to happen there too.
Yeah. Instead of looking at the names on the interested list, Vince, what I instead do that I find far more interesting is it tells you where the priorities are. If you look at the positions, it's like there's one DB in there, but offensive line, wide receiver, and defensive line. Say no more, right? We sucked at wide receiver. We couldn't block, and we had some departures on the defensive line. I mean, that's the story of the tape. Now, what I am excited about, Vince, and I imagine that the coaches are excited about, and the running back room is excited. Those guys are about to eat, and I do think we have some guys that were just not used as much. Keziah Holmes, I can't wait. Right? There's so many guys on the running back room that I thought just didn't get a fair shake or didn't have time to run because the offensive line was so terrible that I'm really excited to see in this offense. And no matter what you say about, again, Gus and Castellanos, you put a mobile quarterback who likes to run in a running system with a very good running back room, it's going to create
And an O
problems.
line that knows how to block it up.
And a lot of these guys on this interested list are proven talents. The reason why I'm most excited about the Nebraska transfers is because they're all studs. So, um, and most of them have played. And so you love the guys that are coming from a Power Two conference that have already performed and play aggressive and physical, coming to play for the aggressive and physical team coaches who we need a team to be aggressive and physical. So I think the Nebraska defensive players are the most likely to make the largest impact immediately from the portal.
Yeah, and I know there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens by the next time we have our next show, Ryan. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever's on here, things can change in a heartbeat. And so this graphic is a snapshot in time. That is a portal in the background. It's not a toilet flushing, just so everybody knows. That is a portal.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure that nobody's making fun of my graphic there.
How'd you guys like
Um,
in the comments? How'd you like the Mike Norvell Doctor Strange graphic? I just want to. I had fun
graphic,
making it.
like graphic design is neither my nor Ryan's forte. So we're kind of doing what we're doing here. Speaking of, if you are interested in getting some better graphic design for the Garnet and Old Show, why don't you consider subscribing, maybe joining as a member? Ryan had mentioned that he was possibly going to do a members only
I
show
might
last
do
week.
one this weekend.
Did not work out. We're going to do one this weekend, but there are multiple levels of membership that you could choose from on YouTube. And if you are interested in doing that, it helps out the show a lot. It help us keep the lights on and maybe get some better graphic design because what you're looking at right now is pretty much the extent of my talent.
And hopefully, we need if anyone out there listening does original like mixing or DJ work for and makes original type stuff. Shout us out, connect with us on X at VC Noel or at Big Papa East or email us at garnetold@gmail.com because even though we've been trying to use non-copyrighted music, what's happening is a lot of foreign nation people
Nefarious,
are
nefarious people.
using non-copyrighted music, adding their voice to it and uploading it, and then claiming copyright. So if you actually have some skills, shoot us a message. We love to hear from you.
Yeah, that's some bad stuff. They might be the ones that are also manning the drones, Ryan.
Yeah, let's talk. Oh, we got 6 minutes, Vince. This is perfect.
We have 6 minutes. We got to talk about some other stuff here.
I like to imagine. First of all, when the drones started happening in New Jersey, for those of you who aren't, or if you guys need any background, just Google New Jersey drones. You'll find it.
New Jersey drones.
Um, Drones the size of cars in mass coming up from the water and flying over New Jersey. Nothing to see here. Uh, and it's
Hold on.
not like,
This is how this gets going.
yeah,
Uh, you're saying coming up from the water. they're coming in
from the
from
water.
the ocean, but not necessarily
We don't
out
know
of.
where they're coming from,
We don't know where they're coming from,
allegedly.
allegedly.
So here's the thing: you cannot tell me or convince me, no one can, that our government has no idea what these are, where they came from. I think they know very well. I'll give you my opinion on what I think is happening here. Um, they know. They don't want to tell us for whatever reason. They have whatever reasons they always have for not telling us everything. But what I don't appreciate is the infantile, like, talking down to about it. Like, okay, you guys don't know what it is. No, but you're telling us there's no threat. Yes, and you can say that pretty confidently. Yes, we can say it confidently. So if you don't know what it is or where it came from, how can you definitively tell us there's no threat? And they're like, don't worry about it. And we're like, all the news now, everyone with a camera has 1,000 videos of these things flying around. So here's my take on it, Vince, and then I want to let you go.
Okay. No, we're going to go for a little bit here because
Yeah,
we do not have a hard stop at 8.
I fully believe these are ours. I think these are United States drones testing some kind of capability that they can't test very easily unless they're over a live population center. And it's very high up, and they don't want uh, it to get out why they're doing it or what they're testing or capabilities. But clearly, they're testing, in my opinion, large scale drones over a large population base because you have to do it. Because if you try to do it in other countries, you could end up inadvertently starting bigger issues. But in preparation for what they might need it for later on, potentially in other countries, if conflict arises. That's why I think they're being so coy and acting so dumb about it. I don't think it's in other countries. I believe right now, if China or Iran or any of these had a 50 drones over our a city, I think they would scribble F-22 jets and they would be taken care of pretty quickly. This isn't one balloon, okay? This is definitely the United States. It's not aliens, guys. They clearly are. They look at them. They're drones. They're not orbs or magical lanterns floating. Okay, they're drones clearly. So, Vince, what is your take on it?
So I have to laugh about it a little bit because the predominant theory is yes, that they belong to the US, and that is why there's not this hyper emergency mode about it. They are not going to tell you why they're up there, what they're doing.
Even though they
But the
should.
fact that they are, but they should. But the thing that it maybe is a little bit different about this is that typically when the government or the military is testing new technology, it is not within the realm for the general masses to see.
Yeah, it's like Joe in a field saw it usually. Yeah.
It's usually in some rural, where you could look at, Jim Bob's video that he got from his camera and go, he's just a kook, right? This is different. This is a little bit different. And so what you say is that, well, they have to do it over the masses because they're testing some of the capabilities of these things. For example, jamming signals, being able to bring down other drones and things like that, and being able to avert and avoid stalking and all those kind of things. So maybe that is the case. What is interesting about all this is that it's kind of feeding on itself now, right? Because you definitely have the drone thing going on, definitely. But now you have other things that people are talking about that may or may not be related to that. And now everything that's out there. I mean, you see a balloon in the sky and people are talking about the drone that went over their house.
Yeah.
Um, and how many videos have you seen recently, Ryan, of orbs, of glowing orbs?
Yeah, those I discredit. What I don't discredit is BBC and UK News reporting that United States military base in the UK having multiple of these drones over the base at the same time that they were happening in New Jersey. Um, that's why I think it's ours. It's our equipment. I think they could be testing surveillance capabilities, jamming capabilities, and that's the only way to test it is in the real field. And they don't want to send it to China and test it and start a war. Um, so this is what they're
Some
doing,
other,
but they're treating us like
some
children.
other,
I don't appreciate
they
being
are.
treated like a child.
Some other hypotheses that are out there are that they are ours and they are searching for something. It's not that they're just testing the capabilities, they're actually searching for something. Biological warfare, some they're doing scanning for something like that. But they don't want to alarm the public because they don't know whether they've found anything yet. Um, and of course, there's also the that this is not necessarily another nation state, but a totally separate entity of really wealthy, rich people that have created this technology in an effort to scare to scare nations into basically upping the ante on the money they're spending on the military.
Mm. I've also
Right. And
heard
of course,
they're out for Trump too. That's another theory. You know, they're surrounding his residences. So here's the thing: 1%
oh, come on,
chance
there's one more. There's the
aliens.
big, there's the one everybody's talking about, which is this is the first step toward disclosure. You're
It could
getting
be.
everybody. It could be getting everybody desensitized, or yeah, desensitized in a way to the possibilities of
Anunnaki.
n- non-human intelligence, non-human biologics, whatever you want to call it. But it's fascinating, and of course, social media is the prime place for all this stuff to go crazy, crazy, crazy.
I have one more thing it could be, Vince. And for this, I present to you Ryan's School of Acting. Hold on. I got to channel something here. I kind of had to look. The United States government thinks that we're going to believe for a second that this is military, aliens, or all of the above. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a false flag operation. They're going to invade America, tell you it's aliens, and then it's really going to be them, and they're going to control everything. They're already drinking the baby's blood, and now they're going to control the world. You
If
have to be
anybody,
prepared. Now send me money because I'm struggling after InfoWars crashed. That was my best, Alex Jones.
listen, if anybody joined the show right then for the very first time,
Yeah,
they would
they,
be like,
they
"What is
subscribed
going
immediately.
on?" Oh my goodness. So I will end. Well, we're going to end on that, or we're going to talk about the college football playoff stuff.
No, we should end it on Alex Jones because what the
Okay.
world loves more than anything right now in the world of X and other social media sites is conspiracy theories. Now,
Hmm.
I will end with not ruling out, seriously, not ruling out the alien possibility because I can't. You know why, Vince? Because I
I-
want to believe.
that's, yeah, that's how I was gonna end this. Is I was gonna say, Ryan, what is your predisposition on the possibility
Of
of
aliens.
additional life within the universe, Ryan?
A few
What do
years ago, I thought it
oh,
was not
here we go.
total, and
Here we go, everybody.
I thought it was nonsense. A few years ago, the second we started having government hearings and multiple formal intelligence officials, and the more these guests then went on Joe Rogan, and I, went all in on the listening to those pieces. The start, I that's the moment I was like, I did one of these. Could it? I'm not so sure. But then I asked myself, why would the government tell us now? Is it because we all have phones and they can't escape video eventually getting out at some point, real good video? And so they're like, okay, we have to give them something. Let's give them nibbles a little bit over time until we finally get there. And that's what this is starting to become. Possibly. I'm not ruling it out. It's not the likeliest scenario, but I'm giving it a better than 5% chance.
That's a pretty good percent chance, actually, considering where you probably were
Yeah.
previous to this.
I love the show Ancient Aliens. Let me tell that. The guy with the
Yeah,
hair.
it's on all the time too. By the way,
Yeah.
Ancient Aliens is on all the time. Um, the aliens would probably love this show.
Mm.
They would probably hit like and subscribe. They would probably laugh at our ultimate hope and optimism for the coming year. But until that time, and until I get the first alien in
Yeah.
the comment section, I'm going to hold off on my thoughts on that.
No, you can't leave us on a cliff. You have to tell us, Vince. Yes or no? Do you think there are aliens? It doesn't have to be this that we're talking about, the drones. Do you think there are aliens? Because I say yes now.
Here is the way I talk about that. To think that, and whatever your, by the way, whatever your beliefs are, to think that, so say you are an atheist, you don't believe in God or whatever. To think that out of the vastness of the universe, that we are the only intelligent form that's ever developed, I think is pretty like myopic.
Mm.
If you do believe, or if you do believe in a God or God, and you believe that God is all powerful, omniscient, omnipresent, is here from the beginning, the Alpha and the Omega, and all the things. If you believe that, why limit? Why limit God?
Yeah, he could have. I like the idea of a god being like Vince. Have you ever seen? I'm sure you have. You ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the one where he meets his dad?
Yes.
Even though I'm not going as crazy the god thing where like how crazy that movie went, but the general idea of an all-powerful god that was the beginning of everything, kind of putting like touches all over the place in the universe and just loving all of it and thinking all of it's great and just seeing what happens because it's awesome that this is the creation. I would love that to be true. That sounds much more fun than just one. Like I'm an asshole sometimes. I don't want to just be, you know. I like to believe that it would if we were in the no, I will never be a god except for the god of wine and everything delicious. But if I was a god, I would be like, let's create an all dog planet over here with a bunch of like labs. That'd be great, and they can talk. I would be teasing her. I would be playing around, having fun. But
Yeah,
that's
you
my
never
that's
know.
my take.
So that's my take on it as well, is that why limit? Why limit? Why limit God, which we all, if you believe in that he is all powerful, why limit him?
Yeah,
Why? For our own benefit? That's limiting for our own benefit because we want to be the only ones. It's weird to me.
yeah.
But until it happens, we are the only ones
I'm
until
gonna
it happens.
share this part of the episode with our friend Tim.
You should also share it with our friend Greg.
Mm. Well, everyone,
And by the way, since we're going to wrap it up here, um, tonight on MLB Network, starting at 8 p.m. Actually, I'm missing it right now, but I am recording it. Is a documentary on Michael Jack Schmidt, the greatest third baseman to ever play the game.
Mm.
And I know people are going to have a hard time with that. Some people, but the greatest all-around third baseman to ever play the game.
Yeah.
The documentary's on tonight.
Go watch it on your $10 more expensive YouTube TV. Like we
I was
all
going
will.
to say, Ryan, you're catching up to me with the dollars there.
They keep taking. They keep taking. But everyone, it's been real. It's been fun. It's not every day you get to hear us talk about aliens. I like that stuff. So I'm glad that we had a chance to do it. But Vince,
We shared it with the crew.
we shared it with the crew. Vince, it's been a good episode. Let's wrap it up. I'm gonna say it. Screw ESPN eternally still, and we'll talk about the pageant more next week. But Vince, leave us with your favorite thing to say.
Send Chiefs all the damn time. Congratulations to my daughter who is graduating from Florida State University tomorrow.
Screw Alabama and go Noles.
Go Noles.